The crisis of Ukraine began to emerge in 2008 when during the Nato summit in Belgrade, it was announced that Ukraine and Georgia will also join NATO. This for Russia was a red line, and they made it very clear that this would not be acceptable to them. But despite Russia's concerns, the US and West went ahead with this proposal of joining of NATO by Ukraine and Georgia. First, this led to the war between Georgia and Russia in the later part of 2008. And then subsequently, after the Orange Revolution in Ukraine, the Russians annexed Crimea in 2014. And finally, they attacked Ukraine last year around this time. And now the war has got protracted for over 1 year now. And it is becoming a very serious crisis. And because Russia is committed to this war, and so is the United States and NATO also committed to defending Ukraine, and the Ukrainians are also committed to fight, to continue to fight, so the war is getting protracted. And nobody is prepared to back down. And there is no possibility as of now of any negotiated settlement as well. So it is becoming a very dangerous situation. The Russians have adjusted their objectives and they have occupied certain portions of eastern Ukraine and trying to absorb them into Russia, while the Americans and the West are not prepared to concede these areas to the Russians. And so therefore both sides are in for the long haul. What is going to be the outcome of this conflict, we don't know as yet. But the Western effort is to weaken Russia to an extent, both economically and otherwise, that they are unable to continue the fight. But on the other hand, it is in China's interest also to make sure that Russia does not go down completely. And so therefore they are also supporting the Russians. As far as NATO is concerned, it has become more important now, and more countries are joining NATO, which means that Sweden and Finland are also have also announced that they are going to join NATO. The defense budgets of the European countries or NATO countries has been doubled as of now. From 3%, it has gone up to 6%. And so we are likely to see in Europe a kind of repeat of what happened during the Cold War. But obviously, the balance of power is going to be with the West, and Russia, being a much weaker power, will never accept this expansion of NATO towards the east right up to its borders, and they will try and hold on to Ukraine on one hand, and on the other hand they will continue to create instability in countries that are close to Russia. So the situation is pretty bad, and it is likely to have serious implications not only for Europe and Russia but also for the rest of the world. And on the other hand, this is also pushing Russia closer to China, and we are likely to see much greater cooperation, strategic and economic cooperation coming up between Russia and China in the coming months and years to come.